The views expressed on the following broadcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting or its affiliates. The dialogue on this show should not be considered as medical, psychiatric, or professional advice and is delivered only as personal opinions from the host, co-host, and guest. KHLT Recovery Broadcasting is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
Chasing after this world makes me tired. Praising my own name leaves me dry. There's gotta be so much more to life than this. A higher calling that I've missed. I want my life to count every breath. I wanna live with abandon.
And now, here's your host, Eve D., Bruce H., and the Monty Man.
Every part of my heart, Jesus, I place in you.
Well, welcome aboard, friends and family, to the good ship Scallywaggles. There's Bruce Scallywaggle and Eve Scallywagger. Welcome to another fine episode of Open Forum here this Wednesday, this wonderful Wednesday. It's absolutely gorgeous outside, and we need to have a sunroof in here. Or something.
We do. That sun is so warm.
It's so nice.
It's wonderful.
I stood by the door for about 5 minutes and refused to come in.
Is that right?
Oh,
He did. I said, "Come in, Bruce." He goes, "No."
wonderful.
Well, hey, listen, welcome everybody to Open Forum. Our email address is take12radio@comcast.net. And whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're listening to the audios or you've downloaded it on your smartphone or tablet or whatever, we're glad that you're with us. And right off the bat, I'm going to be talking about this up until April 1st. For those of you who are in the Albany area, South Albany High School and Team Henkel, Coach Jason Henkel, this is about Coach Henkel, he has stomach cancer. And they are holding a donkey basketball. Have you ever seen donkey basketball?
Yes, we had it at my high school back in when hills were mountains in the 70s. Yes, and it was the teachers against some of the students, and it was hysterical.
Wow.
Wow. Don't miss it if you get a chance to see donkey basketball.
The donkeys?
It's like donkey baseball.
But isn't is it like Donkey Kong?
Well,
So people are riding on the donkeys up and
tell
down
me-
the
But doesn't
court.
that mess up the floor? I mean,
I'm sure that they do something to the floor
Yeah.
in order to
haven't you ever
protect
seen
it.
donkey baseball?
I've never seen donkey anything.
You've seen Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong, yes. Well, donkey basketball, and this is Tuesday, April 1st. At the Lynn County Fair and Expo Center. Oh, that's why.
Oh,
it's not gonna
that's
mess-
why.
Okay.
They're probably going to do it on turf or on dirt, the arena.
The arena. Tuesday, April 1st. Donkey basketball. Lynn County Fair and Expo Center. Doors open and they're going to have a meal too. Doors open and meal service.
Oh, I'll go then.
It starts at 5:30.
What's the cost, Monty?
The cost is $10 for adults, $6 for students, and $4 for children.
That's
K
one.
through 6.
That's a deal.
Yes, it is.
It's great entertainment.
The game starts at 6:30. The proceeds go to benefit Team Henkel to help defray the family expenses for the stomach cancer.
Yeah, don't be like Monty and don't know what this is all about. Go and see.
Yeah, really. So my
Never
son,
seen a donkey game.
my son is involved in this. But he's highly respected, and the kids love this guy. And there's something about your band teacher, your choir teacher, and your coaches, and your art teacher and stuff like. I mean, I don't know. Wasn't it true with you guys? I mean.
Well, they're cut from different cloth
They're cut from different cloth.
than a math teacher, let's say. Can we just say they're cut from a different cloth?
Yeah.
They
Your
get,
sociology
they get
teacher.
involved with you.
They have a heart, all right?
Yeah. You're probably not going to go visit your sociology teacher. Or your,
Now hold it there. That's a little different.
That's
I just said math. Okay.
Your algebra professor. Well, at 14 years out of high school, I went and visited my algebra professor. No, but I did go visit my art teacher.
Yes.
So anyway, and pray for him, Jason Hinkle. Stomach cancer. I can't imagine how horrible that must be. So that is Donkey Basketball, Tuesday, April 1st. Get your tickets at South Albany High School, and we'll put a link up at the very bottom of the webpage. Actually, it'll be all of our main pages where the text links are. It'll say tickets for Donkey Basketball, and just click on that, and you can get the information how to get to South Albany. Tuesday, April 1st. Okay. To buy your tickets. It's going to be at the Lane County Fairgrounds. Okay, I got that out of the way. Da-da-dum.
With all those legs on the floor, there'll be a lot of double dribbles.
Good one, Bruce.
Okay,
Yes.
Easter's coming up, and you guys like, hate, or does it matter when it comes to Peeps? You know what Peeps are?
Those little marshmallow.
Those little yellow
candies?
marshmallow
I have
chickens?
Now, see, you don't know about this Donkey Basketball.
And you
but
don't know
I-
about Peeps.
No way.
Are you serious? You've
I'm
lived all
serious.
you chauffeured Elvis Presley, and you don't know about Peeps?
That's right.
That's absolutely unacceptable.
Now I feel bad.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I know about Peeps.
Well, Peeps
And can I say that hate's a little strong word, but it borders.
borderlines. Yeah.
You
Because I
hate-
just don't like
You hate
artificial colors or marshmallows. So that's what Peeps are.
Yeah. And you know what? Easter is really not about comfy little warm colors. It's a very messy celebration, really, when you think about it. So I'm always I'm kind of like my former pastor, pastels and little dresses. Really? We're talking about one of the most brutal events in the history of mankind. But anyway, Peeps are back in the form of peppermint Peeps. Little red stars, peppermint Peeps. Oh Lord! Someday I'll tell you the story about what we did to our.
Is that going to be for the 4th of July?
Little red stars in the form of peppermint Peeps. That don't make sense.
No, they're not the chickens. They're Peeps. It's the same. It's the same sugary substance, gooey, marshmallowy
No, I get
garbage.
that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
they're in the shape of stars, and they're called peppermint Peeps.
And they're green.
No, they're red.
Do you
Bruce?
Get do you get the picture in my? Do you get the picture?
Do I get the picture in your head?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying not to look, okay?
red stars that are peppermint.
So is this for the 4th of July?
This is for Easter.
Easter?
Yeah.
Red Star?
Yeah, I don't get
peppermint
it.
Peeps?
I don't know. Maybe this is for the 4th of July. Well, no, July's kind of far away. This
No, it's not that far away. But I'm just saying it doesn't, pan out in my little
it doesn't.
brain.
See, but same thing with me. Don't pan out my.
But
little brain.
what do yellow chickens have to do with the resurrection of Christ?
They're
I mean,
peeps, not chickens. These are
they're
babies.
peeps. Beep, beep,
These are
beep,
babies.
beep, beep, beep.
The symbol of new life. That's why.
Yeah, a symbol of new death. I like to stomp on those things. Those things they go twist. It's really cool. Okay. Someday when we have time, I will tell you the story about what our congregation did to Pastor Mitch in Lebanon. He is a full 100% hater of Peeps, and we did something to that poor man. Someday I'll tell you a story about it. Okay. The truth about step 12, what some people might not want to look at, is our topic this week. We're closing out this series that we've been doing, the truth about the steps, what some people don't want to look at. But I have to tell you, this Friday, Jay Levin, the publisher and editor-in-chief of the world's largest recovery reference website out there, it's kind of like a tabloid. That's kind of like the framework of it, the way the website looks. But it's not a tabloid. It's actually got some tremendous information called The Fix. He's going to be on the show. And then the week after that, Andrew Kwan from Portland. This guy has got an amazing story of God's grace and a miracle that took place in him and his wife and he. Something that happened to them, and he's got an amazing voice. Andrew Kwan. He's going to be sharing his music, Experience Strength and Hope. And then I guess you call him the facilitator and owner, if you can own a Facebook page, Mike V from Relapse Prevention on Facebook. Over 20,000 members on relapse prevention. He's going to be my guest the week after that. And then our closing song this week is by a guy named Jeff Bates. And I'll tell you more about him when we get to the closing song. He'll be on April 4th. There's a neat story behind all that. Okay, so that's all coming up. And here's something really cool. We're going to be back to filming on YouTube again. This show is on YouTube, but it's just with our picture and the logo and then the audio file. We're going to get back to filming that live, sort of, again. But we've got something really cool going on. Walking Through the Big Book, which has been available. First, it was available by just listening in on streaming audio on the website. Then we made it available for you on a DVD, an audio DVD, and you could purchase it for a donation. Then we made it available for free on the website as an MP3 download. Now, you're going to be able to access it on YouTube, all 34 workshops.
Wow.
They're all about an hour long, and I'm about halfway done producing them for YouTube, and then they'll slowly, because it takes like an hour and a half to upload them to YouTube each. So we'll get several of those out in a week, and then several more. But
that's wonderful, Monty.
So that'll be available, and then we're going to do Walking Through the 12 Steps of 12 Traditions. Put that on YouTube as well. So that'll be cool, because some people, this is how they listen to the show, is through YouTube. They just don't want to go to the website or for whatever reason. So that's coming up and going to be available to you. Okay, let's see here. Is that it? Peppermint Peeps. All right. Okay, we're gonna promote just one sponsor this week, because I want to spend time on wrapping this series up on the steps. And we got some great trivia for you, except for Cecil's kind of in a bad mood, and we'll get back to that here in just a minute.
You told Sister Cecil about the peeps.
No, Cecil told me about the peeps.
Cecil told you about the peeps.
Yep.
Cecil,
he woke me up.
But he's a rabble rouser.
That's right. So we'll be right back right after this message from our sponsor for this show.
Men, women, and their families experience tremendous pain and suffering due to the struggles they face from substance abuse and its co-occurring mental health challenges. They need to find a safe place for peace and healing. Therapia Addiction Healing Center was born out of a deep desire to provide that safe and powerful healing environment. Therapia exists to help people recover from addictions by developing and maintaining healthy, meaningful relationships with God, self, and others. To speak with an addiction specialist, call 1-855-652-4325. That's 1-855-652-4325. Or visit our website at www.therapia.net. Therapia Addiction Healing Center, restoring lives one step at a time.
All right, it's time for Take 12 Trivia. Absolutely wonderful today.
You know, I thought we were going to escape this when there was all the talk about the peeps. I thought maybe
You really
the
did,
peeps
didn't you?
would usurp the trivia.
Well,
That's remarkable. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
Were ya?
and here it is. We get double whammy
double whammy.
on something that
You
is
get
no
peeps.
fun. Can I just say to the audience, this is no fun.
There you go. I knew I loved this girl.
Well, listen, I got it. Cecil, are you there? I think you're not really feeling all that great today for some reason, right?
Well, I'm just a little disturbed today. I'm a little bummed out.
Well, what's going on, Cecil?
You know, Eve, last week you were kind of mean to me.
Uh-oh.
You said that that he was getting to like me, and you just said, not.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cecil.
So what's up with that, Eve?
Well, let's just say that I equate you with trivia, and trivia is not my favorite, so...
Well, I don't know. I think you just got a mental disorder.
Well, that is not a disputable fact, Cecil.
You probably picked it up at that college, Peter Wolf College you're going to.
Peter Wolf?
Oh, I mean George Fox.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yes, okay. We're even now, okay, Cecil?
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Okay. Well, and you know, Bruce, you've been so good. You've behaved the last couple of weeks. You've been so good, you might even get one of these questions right. So, I love you, Bruce. Hi, everybody. And Monty Man's trivia is totally worthless. Totally worthless. So I'll just turn it back over to Monty Man.
Thank you, Cecil. Okay. All right, totally useless trivia brought to you by blah, 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 blah.com/facts.
Seriously?
Absolutely. Oh. It's blah 5 times. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, I love it.
/
I love it.
Facts. All right. The average human eats 8 of these in their lifetime at night.
Spiders.
A, gnats. B, spiders. C, flies. What do you say, Bruce?
I say spiders too.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you would be both correct. All right, trivia question number 2. Almonds are members of what family? Here are your choices. Avocado, peach, or walnut?
Peach.
I don't know the answer to that.
And the peach family is actually the prunus family.
But since she knows so much about it,
You going to go with peach?
I'll go with
Peach.
peach.
You guys are correct. Member of the peach family. Yeah, not the nut family, the peach
I
family.
actually, I went with Eve. Not peach.
You went okay. Useless trivia question number 3. A snail can do what for 3 years? It can do this for 3 years.
Oh, God. Why did I know what a snail could do?
Here's your choices. Crawl without stopping, reproduce, or sleep.
I'm going to say crawl.
Crawl without stopping. Mm-hmm. Bruce? That was weird.
I'm going to go reproduce.
You're gonna
You have reached the maximum time permitted.
That was weird. Okay. You're going to say reproduce? Well, it is actually sleep. Yeah, they can sleep for 3 years. Yeah. Here's your bonus useless trivia question for this week. A polar bear's skin is black. Its fur is not white. What color is it? And here are your choices. Tan, beige, yellow, or none of the above.
Yellow.
I think it's yellow too also.
Do you? Well, you're both wrong. Mm-hmm. 2 coats cover a polar bear's black skin to insulate it from the cold. There's a colorless, soft, fuzzy undercoat of fur which rests against the skin, and on the top of the undercoat is a thick covering of long, stiff guard hairs, which also are colorless. They're transparent, like tiny clear plastic straws. And
so with black skin, how is it that it
there's
appears?
a fuzz that covers the black skin, and then there's the top hair.
Yes,
and they're hollow to hold the heat in. The black skin actually attracts the heat from the sun, even though it isn't showing.
Exactly.
And then the little hollow hairs keep it there.
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
That is just bizarre. The polar bear. Alrighty, that's it for trivia for this week.
Did you get that
Alrighty.
sound at the dentist office or at Les Schwabi?
It does sound. Oh, yeah, it does kind of sound like that, doesn't it?
I never. That is good.
That sound was
You are
brought to you by
sharp today.
sounddogs.com. Sounds for radio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Les Swabby and what?
Swabby.
Or the dentist's office?
Swabby.
No, the dentist's office. I don't go with. I never heard anything that good at the dentist's office.
Oh yeah. Oh gee, one of the highest rates of suicide in
Dentists.
the medical profession is dentists.
Yes.
Because everybody hates the dentist.
I think the next one down is psychiatrist, so there you go.
Yeah.
That's all we got to say about that.
Yeah, you bet. Well, having had a spiritual awakening, or in the original manuscript it said having had a spiritual experience as a result of these steps, and I want to reiterate on that, as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics, or fill in the blank, and to practice these principles in all our affairs. What principles? What principles are they talking about?
The rest of the steps, everything that preceded it.
Yep. So you can't have a spiritual awakening as a result of steps you haven't done.
Yes.
But don't we try to?
Oh, yeah, everybody wants to. I talked for 2 years about my spiritual experience when the car turned over. You know, the car rolled over.
Oh, yes.
And I thought that's what they were talking about. That's not what they're talking about. That's not Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
Whatever that spiritual experience was that I was trying to communicate wasn't of sufficient enough force to keep me sober. Whatever my religious convictions were
Right.
prior to that weren't enough to keep me sober.
Yes, and I had the same experience both times, that I came in before I actually did work the steps. Because I came in with a higher power. I was a Christian, born-again Christian, and so I kept telling people, I don't need to work that step because I've got this.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
make it real clear, because I feel the necessity to do this. We're not saying that Christianity couldn't. Mm-hmm. We're saying, in our cases, it didn't, and we should find out why.
Yes, and so I'd actually like to read something from page 93 of Working with Others. This is on the 12th step. It's in the middle of the last paragraph. It says, "But he will be curious to learn why his own convictions have not worked and why yours seem to work so well. He may be an example of the truth that faith alone is insufficient. To be vital, faith must be accompanied by self-sacrifice and unselfish constructive action," which is what Step 12 is all about.
You bet. Unselfish concern for another
that's
human
right.
being. It's learning to put other people's welfare before our own.
Yes, it's not a selfish religion. It's not a selfish faith. It's not for us.
That's right.
Even in Christianity, we have died to self. It's Christ that lives in us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. By the time we've gotten to this step, if we've done this the way the book is lined out, we have prepared ourselves to be a maximum service to God and to our fellows, according to the book. Sometimes it's hard to hear that in a closed-minded discussion meeting, where people are talking about this step but really aren't teaching this step. That, and what I've heard many times is kind of a flavor that says, well, did you 12-step so-and-so? Did you go on a 12-step call? Did you 12-step, who 12-stepped you? Da-da-da. And they don't even really know what it means because they haven't done the other steps. Perhaps they've read this step on the wall and they see the importance of carrying the message. But how do you carry a message that you don't understand?
That's right.
And there's a first visit that the book talks about when we're working with somebody. The first time we make the visit, and we may leave a book with them and that kind of thing. I was curious, when you guys first started working with people, if you would maybe share a little bit about how that went for you the first time.
Terrible.
Yeah, I was very insecure about my knowledge, what I was passing along, and overly concerned that I was damaging the person. And later learned through another 12-step program that I don't have that much power. However, we can lead people astray. You know, they're vulnerable. If they've asked you to be their sponsor or you've made the approach, they are vulnerable. And unfortunately, a lot of people are out there talking about a program that has nothing to do with the 12-step program.
Yeah.
People became so meeting orientated that they're passing along what tickles their ears and what they hear and
or
what makes them feel good.
Or what works for them, because let's face it, not everybody in the rooms is a chronic late stage or any of the other addict or alcoholic, or depending on what other programs you're in. We are on a doom curve.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that today that I've learned to do when I work with people is lead them to the place where they can make a decision based on their experience and what the book is saying, whether they're a chronic alcoholic or not.
That's right.
And if they're not, God bless them. It's great,
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes.
And they still have something to offer. Yes, but at least they can go to somebody and say, "I found that I didn't have to do this because." But they're talking about them. And at least, and they know that I'm not doing the 12 steps, Or listen, I didn't find myself as hopeless as that person, but I did the 12 steps, and today I have this relationship with God.
Do you know that's kind of funny too, because I've done this enough now that I've noticed a pattern.
Yeah.
That those that are they're the furthest down on the doom curve, they're late stage or they're the real deal 100%, they're the ones that are the most questioning about whether they're the real thing. It's the people that maybe aren't, that just are ready to take everything hook, line, and sinker. Have you noticed that too, Bruce?
Yes.
So that's interesting. I used to say something long ago that alcoholism or drug addiction is the only disease in the world that tells us that we don't have it. So, but
Disease
yeah,
of
it's
denial.
important. Yes. It's important, though, to, like Bruce said, that's one of the first things to do is, are you a real alcoholic or are you a problem drinker? And
the book assumes something, too.
that's right.
You
That's right. You're right. It says we assume that the reader wants what we have. And
and also this, that if we're making an approach, how about this? The assumption on our part is one of them people have a solution.
yeah.
If I approach you and all I have is the problem, and I think when you read step 12, the very first page, the very first paragraph, it tells you what you're doing. It's really crystal clear to me anyway. So it says, practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with another alcoholic. It works when other activities fail. This is our 12th suggestion. Carry the message to the alcoholic, to the other alcoholic. You can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail. Remember, they're very ill. So if you read this, and there's one little piece in it, you can secure their confidence when others fail. See, that's what my story, and that's what we have in common, is this common peril. And because of that, I can secure your confidence. Oh, I'm a man that knows what he's talking about. Yeah, I felt that way. I did those things. Yeah, I had to have a drink the first thing in the morning before I could eat or do anything else.
Yes.
You see, those type of things that we can relate to. But if that's all we know, but now I can tell you about the solution.
Yes.
Because we hear that in meetings all the time. We hear how we have a common malady, we have a common illness, and we hear that over and over and over again. But I don't hear we have a common solution nearly as much.
Well, that's what binds us together.
That's a good point, Monty.
Like nothing else can. That's on page 17 or 14. I forget, but I know it's one of them. That it tells us that we have not only have a common problem, but we have a common solution that holds us together like we never were before. Okay, and that's the thing that we want to do. We want to look at. That's at the very first part of there is a solution, I think, Monty.
Oops. Let's see here.
17, page 17.
Page 17.
Yeah, it says.
Yes, the tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree, upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. Wow. Do we really absolutely agree on that in today's?
For those that have
Not even close.
yeah,
No.
for those that have went through the book, we do though.
To really have done this, to really have done it the way this book lines out, I think people would agree. But
The way this book lines it out to the best of our ability.
to the best of our ability,
And I think that those are the two key things that truly matter.
So would you guys agree that when people are at extreme differences when it comes to the solution, that you're probably talking about somebody in that mix hasn't gone through this literature? They haven't done these steps. At least they haven't done them through the book.
Well, if we went on a 12-step call, what he'd be saying, just 2 meetings, and
Yes.
I'd be telling him about the hopelessness of
Yes.
this disease. See, and he would say, no, don't do that. You're going to discourage him. But see, I can do that, and the book tells me I can do that because I have this solution.
Right.
If I didn't have that, it would be a terrible thing.
Yes, thank goodness somebody did tell me the bad news and took me through
Yeah.
the doctor's opinion and showed me the end result, if I kept on that path. Because that's what it, gave me even more desperation to do this thing, to keep that willingness to work through the steps. Because it's not easy, and we tend to feel a little bit better and call it good. We tend to, work through a step or two, and we get that flight into health and think that we've got this, and we don't.
It's so it's so amazing.
Yeah, it
the
is.
farther we get away from the alcohol, the
Right.
we think we're okay.
And really, the farther that we get from the alcohol, if we haven't done the steps, the closer you are to picking up again.
The closer you are to picking up again. Absolutely right. See, I agree with you.
It says, this is interesting. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism. It doesn't say this is the great news that the meetings carry or the fellowship carries. It says that the book carries.
Let's talk about the meetings for just one moment, because it goes along with what we was talking about. The meetings are there, and they're necessary.
Yes.
But what they're necessary for is for us to go to listen to the people,
Yes.
for we'll know how to make the approach.
Make the approach. That's exactly it. And that's something that I tell my sponsees too, because that's what this is. And you know that some of them, I've even had a couple of them kind of dig their feet in at that point. It's like, oh, you mean at the end of this, it's not, I don't get to just not have drugs and alcohol in my life anymore. You mean I'm going to have to do some work? Not realizing that that it's actually a joy. It's one of the greatest joys and blessings in my life is when I do get to work with others. So,
Yeah. Well, it give us purpose and direction.
Yes.
For the first time in my life. And I think what I'm trying to do is practice God's will. Now, that's a huge statement. And I don't think people are going to like that.
Yeah.
I don't know God's will. I'm not saying that. What I think I'm doing is I think Alcoholics Anonymous has found a way to be biblical in the sense that they're putting other people before themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's very biblical. And I think that's what I'm practicing to do. And when I practice steps 8 and 9 is how I was practicing to go out and do his bidding from steps 6 and 7.
Yes.
You see, it's just the process. And if you hear what I'm saying, audience, his work. Because what I realize is I need him in my life. I learned that in step 1 because if you're powerless, that means you're going to do it again. You're going to do it again. That's what Eve was taught. That's what I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my life shouted and screamed. Step 2 came to believe that a power greater than ourselves would restore us to sanity. Because step 1 taught me that I had an allergy and an obsession.
Right.
And the obsession was the insanity.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't fight that with reason because it doesn't conform to it.
That's right.
So step 3, I turned my will in my life over to God, recognizing my need. And step 3 was the decision to carry on, to take a hard look at myself, an honest look with his help. And step 5 was to share that with another human being. And then 6 and 7 was getting ready to go out and do his work. 8 and 9 was the practice of that. 10 and 11 was the growth. And then 12 was to go out and pass along the good news.
Amen, brother.
That's all it is.
That's right.
It's not rocket science.
But I just wanted to get sober.
But
You've never ever heard, it's interesting, okay?
It's funny.
So what you just said, you'll never hear from somebody who has done the work.
That's right.
You won't ever hear that. You'll say, you hear people say something along these lines, if I would have known that I was going to have the life I have today when I first walked into these rooms and did the steps, I would have done them a lot sooner.
Sure.
It's like a continuum. Like if you had a line graph and you had the worst you've ever felt and the best you've ever felt, and you had a person define what both of those were, and to say that the line would actually go further up so that you would feel better than you ever have in your life. That doesn't mean that there aren't bad things that happen in life, because life does that. Life is real, and things are going to happen. But we're talking about a joy where you might have experienced happiness before. Now you're going to have a joy that cannot be taken away from you, no matter what's going on. Even if you get diagnosed with cancer, even if your spouse dies or something happens to your child, just that knowledge that that everything is okay. That's what's so priceless.
With everything that's going on in our lives, you can't take that away, what you're talking about.
No.
See, we still have that. Both things can be going on in a person's life. Do you know what it's like not to have the tough things have such a huge effect on this purpose and direction that God has given me? For the very first time in my life, I've been free because He freed me from the bondage of self and allowed me to join Him in His work.
And we close. I mean, not just this show, but just about every show is closed with that statement. We're wishing God's serenity for you, and it's something I picked up a long time ago from one of my sponsors, he would give me a hug after a meeting and say, "Serenity for you." And he explained it to me one time. I said, why do you say that? He said, because happiness, and you guys have heard me say this, I'm just repeating what he said. Happiness, even the word happiness, is based on your happenings going on around you.
Yes.
Joy and serenity it's God's serenity. And, and we talk about it within Christendom. We say the joy of the Lord is my strength, not my joy. Mm-hmm. The joy of the Lord, His joy. His joy can't be shaken. His joy is perfect. It's complete. It's fulfilling. And so if I'm seeking after happiness, I may be looking for things to fall in line in the way I want them to in the happenings going on around me. And when that happens, that's great. That's a lot of fun. When everything in life is going the way you want it to, and you're responding to it, and you're having a happy time. But the truth of the matter is more times than not, our happenings are disturbing, and they're inconvenient. They're bristly.
Very much so.
Yeah. And so, and if I can have serenity, if I can experience God's joy and serenity, that way outweighs happiness. We hear that term. You want to be right, or you want to be happy. I don't want to be happy. I want to be serene. I want to have God's serenity. Mm-hmm. And when we've developed a relationship with our Creator, the way in doing these steps, and hopefully, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you've gone through these steps, or you feel you have, and you do not have a relationship with God, it might be a sign that maybe you were taken through them in a way that person experienced, but maybe not through the book. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I can't say. I don't know you who are listening. But I have to tell you that I really believe that these steps were designed to show us, like Bruce always says, our need for a power. And that power, according to the book, is not human. So that means it can't be a human philosophy.
It even tells you it's about God.
It says it's about God.
I get so... I don't know the word to use even.
Exasperated?
That's a good one. I was thinking of consumulated.
Discombobulated?
Discombobulated.
Yeah.
When it says, a God of our understanding. It's not just talking about God.
Yeah.
It's about God, how you understand Him, and God, how I understand Him. That's all it means. Why would He add something to that?
Yes.
Good orderly direction. What?
Okay, it's good orderly direction. If you don't want to think of it as good orderly direction, you can. But it's God. It's God's good orderly direction.
Well, like a guy, I heard a guy at a meeting last night might say, that's fine, and for somebody else, a good orderly direction. He says, but I didn't even know what direction I was going. He said, I had to have something that was bigger than a attribute of a human being doing something right. That's what he said good orderly direction was. He said, I need something bigger than that.
I like that.
Yeah.
There was a guy that the other day, we hear people that talk about meetings, and now we've taught this guy to say this, but he honestly and truthfully believed that he was talking about God's will, that he knows he's in God's will when everything's going right.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh.
And then when everything goes wrong, he hates God.
That's a worldly philosophy.
Or it's his fault.
May I back up, though, and say something?
Yeah.
Because I really do believe that we need not be stumbling blocks to those people that walk through the door.
Absolutely.
And I do think that we can mention God without mentioning religion and certain faiths. Now, I know maybe the two of you will argue against that, but I'm just thinking about when I came to know God and how I've heard many people come to know the Lord, that it wasn't by coercion or
in your face,
like forcing it. It was the gentle and loving Holy Spirit, and that working through others. And
I agree with you.
because God is calling people, and being obedient and not speaking with our own agenda in mind, I think, is important.
God does not need us to defend him.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Monty.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
If we cut off somebody's ear, he's just going to put it back on, you know. And I agree with you. And I think to all of you who are people of faith, particularly the Christian faith that are listening to this show and feel like if you're not specific about who God is in your life by name and history and biblical and all that you're not doing God's will, let me tell you something. God is not hindered by what you say or don't say. He's God. And so when I fall short, he's God. When I do the right thing, he's God. The deal of it is that we can't be somebody else's Holy Spirit. We just can't. So I think you're going to find, I don't think meetings are the place to do it. I think it's working with one-on-one. If you're a God-believing, loving individual and you accepted God into your life as your Savior and your one and only and all that, you have a responsibility to carry that message, the message that this book is all about, to another individual. And if you're not, and you're trying to do it through meetings only, you're missing the point.
Yes.
You know, because there's a lot of us that will be critical about, we can't say Jesus or we can't say this or that. Well, you probably shouldn't be unless you're working with the person or they're asking you.
And the Holy Spirit is leading you to do so.
Yeah, if you're just going out there, I'm going to take on the day and I'm going to be God's man out there, and you're not asking God to direct your path,
yes,
you could actually do more harm than good.
Well, I might be one of the ones that would argue against it, except for there's something I'd like to say, is that I think that it's a place where people can come, and I think they should feel safe. But
are we talking the meetings now?
We're talking about
okay.
in the meetings and about this thing about God. But if you're a person that's been through the steps, or you're a person of faith, or you're a Christian, I think that you should be living your life in a manner that would be attractive to other people.
Yes.
And we don't see that in the rooms with people that call themselves Christian or faith-based or believe in God.
However, I have been a Christian for 34 years, and
That's too long.
and I have been one of those people who have not walked.
Sure.
But here's what I know about suffering and the Jesus who lingers and the prodigal girl and all these things, that God is perfecting in me what he began. And sometimes it's by fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, and remember this, though, where I was going to go with this is that I wasn't born again until I was 60 years old.
That's right. And so you don't have the experience of being young, of having the fleshly things like hormones and drives and being cool and all those other things. You don't have the experience of that. Your experience is your own. But I'm just saying that one of the things that has really kept me faithful to those who are not walking according to his will, and who am I to judge that anyway? I mean, I'm not walking according to his will on a day-to-day basis. I'm asking that I would be able to do that with his power, but I still fail. So it is a judgment, but I'm thinking of some, people that I know that have relapsed or who are involved in behaviors that are less than godly behaviors. Trusting that not only is God still have those people, he will not leave us nor forsake us, but he is bringing it all for good, bringing it for his own glory. Whatever is going on in their life, he will be glorified. And so for me to be judgmental, I think, is a hindrance actually to those people. that the best thing that I can do is express my love for them, not hang out with them, not when they're doing those behaviors, because that wouldn't be wise on my
Right.
on my part, unless God was actually saying go here and do this or that. Then I would have that covering. But I really, I think that we forget about the love and gentleness that we were drawn in the beginning. And I'm thinking even of you, Bruce, that how the person that was speaking to you was not so bold at all times, but was really just tilling the soil. And as the Spirit was making your heart softened.
I have I agree with what you're saying. I think we're on the same page here. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Maybe a different paragraph.
Do you think we have a couple things going on here? We have a need to walk carefully because we're dealing with wounded people, and we don't know what their experience has been.
Usually it's not good.
It's usually not good.
No.
And it could be at the hands of sexual abuse. It could be at the hands of an abusive father. So their whole outlook on a heavenly father can be really out of whack.
That's a big one.
Yeah. It could be, they could have been abused through religiosity.
Through the church.
So what is it about Jesus that we want to attract them to that we don't want to attract them to religiosity? And we talked about this at Oak Creek a couple of weeks ago. Lots of people fall in love with Jesus, but they hate the church.
That's right. That's exactly
I don't
it.
want to be an example of the body of Christ. I want to be an example of Christ. And so there's a walking in with care. But there's also a sense of urgency that we need to have, so we don't rest on our witnessing laurels, so to speak, and not share the gospel. And so somewhere in that is a little messy area. And I think our humanism gets in there, our desire to defend God and to maybe even defend our rights. By God, if you can say the F word, I can say Jesus. Well, how sensitive to a person's needs are you really being by saying that? Because, see, I was that guy to fight for my rights. And God had to put the kibosh in me and say, look, you are going to be very effective for me if you will, just pray before you walk into that room. I think a multitude of sins will be covered here if people of faith would simply pray and ask God to guide and direct their behavior, their mouth, and their thinking before they ever get out of their car and walk into that meeting that day.
Yes.
I'm involved in Alcoholics Anonymous right to its core, and I teach Alcoholics Anonymous, and I am by no means thinking that when I'm doing that I'm teaching the Bible or I'm teaching Christianity.
Right.
Okay, I'm not doing that. And I'm doing this as a means to teach these people some principles, some good spiritual principles by which to live. And that'll change their lives if they try to live by those. But if God so sees fit, that He'll transform their lives. And here's what I think I'm called to do. Is I'm called to be an attraction.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
The way I've lived my life is that I would hope that these people would ask me, what is your faith? Who is it that you believe in? And then I can tell them. Now, there's others that go out and just do that. And people say, well, why don't you just do that? You see what I mean? But I think I'm called to work with some injured people.
Yes.
See, that really hate God the way I did.
Yes, I remember. Listeners. If you could have seen Brother Bruce before
So I
Christ, BC. Oh my.
I understand this.
Yes.
You see what I mean? So I can gain their confidence, and then I would hope as I start to walk with this person, it's almost like discipling, enter into their lives, and your life is so attractive that they say, well, how do you do this? And what I mean by this is that I'm not attractive or I don't have a lot of things, but I'm happy in the midst of some terrible things. I can laugh. I don't want to drink. Now, that would be attractive to somebody that cannot not drink.
Yeah. Very attractive.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to stick to the story that we need to be led by the Spirit, and sometimes God's going to ask us to stand on our head and do some really crazy things, and other times He's going to tell us to just wait and be silent, to be still and not talk about it. And who knows if even at all. Maybe that would be the best witness to some. Knowing that you are a Christian and you never tried to change them. That might make it very attractive.
I'm just going to ask you, do you know the attraction that you are for people? Don't you know that when people look at you, they look at you differently than they do other women in Alcoholics
Absolutely.
Anonymous?
That is so
you
true.
don't understand that? That you are set aside, that you're on a pedestal.
Well, I hope not, because this girl falls all the time.
That's okay, but what I'm saying is that there's a difference between you and the others.
They put you on a higher. They see the higher plane that God has called you to, that you're obedient to.
Yeah.
Even when you think you're not being obedient, there's an obedience about a person who is spirit led. Even in our frailties and our character defects and everything, that if people watch long enough, they see it.
There's none of that filth coming out of your mouth.
No.
You would shock people. They might have a coronary if they heard it. I don't know. Some people might even think that those things couldn't come out of your mouth.
Oh, they can.
Oh yeah, we know this. But you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Do you see what's happened to your life?
Every once in a while, I do. Oh, God has done a great work.
You went and got your mom.
Yeah.
And she lives with you.
I know. What happened to that selfish, self-centered woman?
And that's right. And we're talking about you.
Yeah.
See, so those are the things. That's the life that He has given us. The decisions that He allows us to make. That's step 12. And you're a living example of that. Do we do it perfectly? Heck no. Are we going to make mistakes? You bet.
All the time.
But for the first time in your life, you can pick yourself up, dust yourself off,
and start all over again.
I mean, for the first time, you can really do that. You couldn't do that before.
No.
See, so I just want to make sure people understand that, and everybody knows. Go to these groups, they know that. They see people in the groups that are that way. Some of them are waiting for us to fall. Some of us are, they're just all those kind of things.
Yeah.
But that's why every day we draw close to Him.
Yep. Amen.
See, we're ambassadors today.
Well, listen, I want to. This really fits well. Nathan Adams, who's he's in the archives under Fridays. He's you can hear his story, folks. He called me up the other day. He was so excited. He was just tripping. He was so excited.
This is the big guy.
Big guy, yeah, Big Nate. And Nate and I have known each other for a very long time, and he's one of these guys that before he came into the fellowship and before he came to a relationship with God and so forth, there was a nationwide manhunt out after him. there were helicopters and police dogs and the military. They were chasing him up this hill.
He was a wanted man.
Oh my gosh! Envision that, The Fugitive, the film The Fugitive. You know, this is what was going on with this guy.
That was my claim to fame.
Yeah. And so anyway, so Nathan calls me up the other day. He goes, "You gotta listen to this song." He says, "I couldn't believe it." He stumbled on it on YouTube, and it was amazing. The artist's name is Jeff Bates, and he's a country western singer who has been through the ringer. I mean, full-fledged addict, alcoholic, almost destroyed his life. And Jeff has written a lot of songs. He is the holder of the Inspirational Country Music Awards. He was also a holder of the Mainstream Country Artist of the Year. And I was so moved by this music that I had to get a hold of him. And so I was fortunate enough to get a hold of his manager, Jeff Bates. His interview with me will be on April 4th. But I wanted to introduce this song to you that he's written and performed, and it's called "He Wasn't Like Us." Listen to the words to this thing and think about in your own youth when you were a bully, if you were a bully, or maybe somebody you knew was a bully, or you maybe didn't treat somebody quite as kindly as you should have. And listen to this song and see where it takes you as we close out the 12 steps, the truth about each step, what some folks don't want to look at. And hopefully over these weeks, people have taken a second look at some of the things that we've covered and maybe looking at it a little differently, and maybe that's helped them to grow, not to maintain, but to grow. Yes. So I want to thank you guys. We're going to start, we're going to take off from this and talk about sponsorship next week and what that entails. How do you know if you're ready to be a sponsor? Should you be a sponsor? Should people sponsor people if they haven't worked the steps, or if they're at least ahead of the person they're sponsoring? All those questions. We're going to tackle a bunch of that stuff next week. But here is Jeff Bates and this song, "He Wasn't Like Us."
We didn't know for sure, but everybody said that old boy ain't right in the head, he's a little slow. We'd hide in the bushes, not making a sound. When he'd walk by, we'd push him down on that dirt road. I was just as guilty as my friends. We had a lot of laughs at his expense. He wasn't like us, he wasn't cool. He'd just smile even while we were being cruel. He stood out, he didn't fit in, but we kept throwing the stones. No, we didn't let up on him. He never said a mean word, no, he never even made a fuss. He wasn't like us. Later on he made a name in our town for hanging out and running around with the rough crowd. There were boozers and losers and low-class broads, but he saw good in them nobody else saw when he brought it out. Then the rumors started flying that he was some kind of holy man. But we set him straight and told him to his face he was a crazy man. He wasn't like us, he wasn't cool. He just smiled even while we were being cruel. stood out. He didn't fit in, but we kept throwing the stones. No, we didn't let up on him. He never said a mean word. No, he never even made a fuss. He wasn't like us. Well, I remember the day he got in trouble with the law. They cursed him and kicked him and mocked him and whipped him. Then they nailed him to the cross. He wasn't like us. He didn't fit in. And I fell down on my knees and wept for him. He never said a mean word. No, he never even made a fuss. He never did nothing wrong. All he ever did was love. He wasn't like us. He wasn't like us.
We're wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.